Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk about top 10 risks in software projects. So which are expected, and this is from project management point of view, which are top 10 risks which you can expect in software project and what are the mitigation or strategy to mitigate those risks. So let me go to the first risk, which is very important and generally happens in every software project, is personal shortfalls, attrition. So how to mitigate that? What are the risk mitigation or risk management techniques to overcome that shortfall or that risk? So you should have a clear policy for talent retention. You should try to retain the good talent, of course. Proper staffing. Proper staffing means your project should not be overstaffed or understaffed. Cross training, cross functional training, right person at right job. Definitely you cannot put a very experienced developer on a very development of very small function which is very simple. Organizational agreement, do you have agreement, do you have plans in place how to replace, how to hire another talent if somebody goes off, or you have something, how much time he has to give advance notice period defined in organizational agreements. Cross functional training, are you organizing in case you lose one talent? Then is there anyone who can really support that, at least maybe with the reduced efficiency, but at least who can support that? Team building activities, continuous team building activities will definitely keep the team bonding, increase team bonding, and they will be associated emotionally with your project. These are the ways to remove or reduce the risk impact from personal shortfall risk. Second risk is unrealistic estimate, very important, and almost every project manager face this risk because under the impression, under not only impression, under the pressure from the top management or customer, many times they are asking for unrealistic estimate. Let it be schedule, let it be budget, or also, I mean, though it is related with the budget cost, I mean, they ask you to reduce the resources. How should you overcome that? Detailed schedule estimation, you should granularize the activity, you should granularize every activity, detail breakdown structure, and estimate that estimation. Okay, it is going to take this much time, and just ensure you should keep the buffer also. 10% buffer is enough, however, but you should keep that buffer. It depends organization how much time you generally get to get response from the functional department. So you should understand that point and estimate buffer in your project. Then detailed cost estimation. Once you are able to granularize your work breakdown structure, you can do the cost estimation also. Okay. Incremental development. If it is difficult to estimate due to some technological constraints, or for example, there is no historical data to refer for estimation, you can use incremental development, and also you can use time and material agreement. You can propose that you can reuse the code or products which you have already developed to overcome the delays, to save the time, to save the cost. Requirement scrubbing, in case you feel that your estimates are going really higher and customer or senior management is not allowing you to cut down on schedule and reschedule or increase the budget, then definitely you can propose the requirement scrubbing without impacting at least initial functionality of a project or a software. You can do some scrubbing on some functions which are least used. Okay, then qualified resources will help you to meet your schedules or reduce budget. Because unqualified resource will take more time to do a job as compared to qualified resource, which will take less time and do good quality of job. So your rework and various cycles of testing can be really reduced. Third one is wrong function or properties development. At least I have experienced this one time. This was because of the linguistic error, linguistic gap. So what should you do? You should go for detailed requirement analysis. These are risk management techniques I'm talking about. Detailed requirement analysis, user interviews and surveys. You can create a user survey form, take feedback, create a prototype, hand it over for analysis. You can use spiral or agile development so that user is involved right from beginning into your software development, and he continue giving your feedback, his feedback. Performance analysis, how your product is doing, what was expected. Quality factor analysis, for example, by load testing, or how much time it is taking on loading the page if it is web-based applications. Just giving an example. How much time user is taking to complete one transaction. Are you really have you designed the software in a way where the user has to do multiple clicks or multiple typing? So that is all. Then you can really create user manual well in advance and hand it over to the customer, hand it over to the users to get their feedbacks. Another, if it is possible, you can really do the parallel run to existing software if you are designing new software as against to the existing one which is old. And you should always look for aggressive user testing. Take it positive. If users are giving you so many bugs, so this is good for you. The reason is when the system goes actually in production, that time you will have less troubles. So this is third, wrong function and properties development. So user will do testing for you in that case. The fourth one is gold plating. Many times to please the customer or to please the senior management, sometimes you are asked to do something out of scope changes, but some not sometime many times this gold plating. The gold plating is basically when you are doing some changing or when you are creating new functions which is not the part of scope. It causes extra load on the team, increase your budget, increase your time, prone to errors. So you should always be looking to avoid gold plating. How should you do that, and what is the risk management techniques so to avoid gold plating? Requirement scrubbing. In case you are forced to do something, you can really forego some requirement. Strong change management in place. If you have change control board in place, any change suggested by management A, B, C, X, Y, Z, that has to pass through the change control board. Okay, in case it has been approved by everyone, so you are not only responsible if it is going out of budget or schedule. Okay, then you should always do cost benefit analysis. Of course, that will be part of change management itself. Prototyping is another option which you can give, and fix the requirement. Okay, we are going to do this only and not nothing apart from that. Detailed scope analysis and agreed baseline. Just agree on baseline it, and in case somebody is asking you to change the scope, change the baseline, change the cost benefit, and let it go for approval to the senior management or customer. If they agree, it's fine for you. I mean, you can really, if the cost is increased, budget is increased, and the timeline is increased, it's okay for you. Define and agree project boundaries. If you define and agree on project boundaries, I am going to work on this, I am going to touch your these systems, is perfectly fine. If anything coming out of that, and one day customer comes and says, okay, I need data from that system also, or I need to create an interface from that system also, you can say no, because you have already agreed on project boundaries. Documentation is very important to avoid gold plating. Continuous requirement change, very problematic, and generally I think it is followed by faced by each and everyone in our industry. So continuous requirement change, to handle that case you need to have very strong change management process in place. Baseline change management process in place. And in change management, every change request has to pass through CCB, Change Control Board, or Software Change Control Board. Okay. You can also look for incremental development. Need to freeze the requirement, get it signed and verified by the customer. You need to baseline the scope, detailed baseline of the scope, and everything should be associated with the cost. You can send it for approval. Information hiding during development, very important part, and you can really think for, because if you share so many information about your product or about software to the customer, definitely he's going to ask you additional every now and then. You agree on the scope, agree on the requirement, finish. Just do development, share the final outcome, and this is the product. Okay, so these are the strategies or techniques to avoid this risk, continuous requirement change. Sometime we allocate or we use third-party tool in our software development, and you have some shortfall because tool is not compatible with your existing technology, or it is not performing the function what you really expected out of it. What should do that? So before finalizing any third-party tool, you should do benchmarking. What are you expecting out of that? To what level? If you are able to quantify, it's perfectly fine. You do inspection, comparative analysis of various tools, reference check. If somebody is using that tool, some companies are using, you can take the feedback. Compatibility, I said, whether this is going to be compatible with your new technology which you are going to use in your development. Functional analysis of the tool, whether the functions the tool is giving meeting your requirement or not. And requirement mapping, you have requirement A, is it met by, it is more or less the functional analysis and requirement mapping more or less same in this case. You have requirement A, is this tool doing, you have requirement B, is this tool doing. So this is pertaining to the tool. Now I'm talking about shortfall in third party task. If you have allocated, subcontracted some part to third party, the task they are performing can really cause havoc. Sometimes it has been seen that delays in project or over budgeting of the project is caused because of third party. So you have to be really, really strong enough to control the contract which has been given to third party. So what all you can do to avoid the risk from third party task is reference check, pre-award audit. Detailed audit has to be done. What type of the companies, how are the resources, what is reputation in the market, what is their outcome, how, whether they are meeting timelines or not, what is their quality delivery, all these. Okay, penalty clause in contract, especially with the time. If you are crossing by day, by hours, or whatever the case is, this is the penalty. Prototype analysis, you can ask them a POC, proof of concept, or you can ask a prototype, you can analyze yourself, you can check for their work. What is their team building mechanism? What is their resource retention policy? It should not be that you are in touch with someone, you have good reputation with that resource, that resource is able to understand your expectation, and that resource leave the company. I mean, what is their retention policy? You should try to understand that. It should not be like retention is very bad. And what is market reputation of that vendor where you are giving third party task? I'm sorry, I forgot one point here. When you hand it over third party, a subcontracted third party, you should have agreed template and format where your reports will be submitted, or third party will submit report to you for analysis. You can define the frequency, is it daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever the case is, that depends on you. You can do that. That is important part. Apologies, I forgot to mention here. Then shortfall in real-time performance. If your software is not performing as expected, what should you do that? That is a risk. I mean, you can expect that risk. So to avoid that risk, you can do some simulation, you can create prototyping, you can fix the benchmarking during load testing and benchmarking. During load testing, you can check whether it is meeting your benchmarking. You can do parallel running. You can create war room with expert after implementation to ensure retuning of software immediately in case something is to be done. So that is in case you are expecting a shortfall in real-time performance of software, but this is post implementation, but risk has to be of course planned well in advance. Hardware capabilities, the hardware which you have suggested, the server sizing which you have done, is it meeting your expected load, is it meeting your requirement for your software? So what should you do that to avoid that risk is simulation, prototyping, benchmarking, load testing and benchmark, technical analysis. whether that particular technology or is really capable, or that hardware is really capable to handle the load created by your technology. Cost benefit analysis and reference check. Technical analysis is not only, it is a load, but it depends how your developer or the programmer has programmed. Is it really? It should not be like they have created endless loop and it is eating up the hardware resources. It's not that. Referencing check is the capability of hardware. If you are going for some specific vendor, what is the reputation in the market? Is it used by multiple companies, and what is output of that company? What is feedback from those companies? That is referencing check for hardware capabilities. Cross cultural team. This is coming up new risk in the market. Not new, but yes, pretty new as compared to others, is because of on-site and offshore model. So team building activities, you need to ensure that both the teams or the on-site and offshore teams are tightly coupled. They understand each other. You have template and formats in place to exchange the informations. Clear demarcation of responsibility for each team. What on-site has to do, what they are responsible for, what offshore has to do, what they are responsible for. It has to be clearly defined. Progress dashboard should be monitored regularly, maybe daily, weekly, monthly, that frequency you need to define. And you need to have weekly or daily remote meetings with on-site and offshore teams. When you are planning for meeting, don't forget to understand and estimate the time gap between two different locations. So this is cross culture team. I try to mention more or less broadly the top 10 the risks which are expected in software engineering, software projects. If you have some more such you are expecting some more risk, please add into the comment box. We will try to add in this video or create a new video. So guys, this was overall. Thank you very much. Subscribe my channel. Take care. Jai Hind.